Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we talk about a controversial game called Active Shooter that simulates a school shooting.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm Fox.
I'm Dez. Hey Fox, I got an email this little while ago.
Did you?
Yeah, and it was, I'm concerned because it says my Netflix password has changed.
Oh, that's concerning.
Yeah, I didn't change it.
Oh no.
And neither did my wife.
Oh
yeah,
no,
so
somebody's gonna watch shows on your account.
I know, but thankfully I went and looked at the email address.
Yes.
And it was from accounts at phish.io.
Oh man, the band Phish is using your... That's kind of cool.
I mean, we talked about this already a little bit, but I thought it was funny enough to bring up again in the podcast.
Yeah, no, for real. Try harder, guys.
Yeah. I don't understand how they send the email and then say right in like their email.
They're straight up telling you
when
this
they
is a
were
phishing
creating
scam.
their own little like email thing. Why was that their thought process?
Right.
Why was it like, okay, well, I mean, let's remember what we're trying to do here. In case we forget. Sometimes, I mean, yes, there are very smart criminals out there that have very smart crime, like Danny Ocean and his sister
Danielle
Sandra Bullock Ocean. Sandra Bullock Ocean. The third. But there are also really dumb criminals out there.
Sure, like that guy. That person.
Yeah, that have
Hashtag
fish in their thing.
Feminism.
And that order 5 area rugs on my credit card and then forget to change the mailing address.
That one's good.
That's a true story, by the way, guys. Jackie and I had a credit card, our identity stolen, quote unquote, had a credit card stolen, and they bought 5 area rugs, but we're insured, so we immediately got the money back. They forgot to change the shipping address. And so we got all that money back and 5 area rugs. And when I contacted Kohl's and I was like, okay, I don't want these area rugs. They're like, we'd have to charge you for shipping and handling to return them. And I was like, cool,
Nope.
I'm going to sell these area rugs
Bye.
now.
Long story short, Des is now in the rug business.
Yeah.
If you'd like a rug.
I got some that fell off fell off a truck.
No, you got them like perfectly legally. Like,
Well, they were carried off a truck. I guess.
Yeah. Right.
And
Most rugs are on a truck at some point.
brought to my house.
Right.
Yeah. So, Fox, what have you been up to, man?
Well, I've been in Arizona this week.
Yeah.
So I didn't play a lot of games. I have been reading Dark Knight's Metal still.
Yeah.
Which is just, I have a little bit of an issue where there's just so much pseudoscience and like comic book logic, and
it's so comic
here's
book.
every single character that you didn't expect to be in it, and sometimes it's kind of cool, and sometimes it's like, okay guys, just get over, like, come on. But it's still really fun to read, and the best part are the Dark Knights, which are like the evil Batman versions of the Justice League from the dark. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but they're all cool, and their backstories are all cool too. Yeah. Like how they came
those little
to
one
be
shots are really great.
Those are the best part. I like reading those more than I like reading the main story. But I did see a movie. I saw Solo again with my brother, and it was exactly the same. Whatever. But I did see a movie yesterday called Upgrade.
Oh yeah, with Tom Hardy, right?
No, it's a guy who basically in Underworld 3.
Okay.
It's not Selena. It's not the character Selena.
Right. It just looks exactly like Selena.
It's a character that, it's an actress
it's
that
not
looks
Kate Beckinsale.
Exactly
it's
like
Kate Beckinsale's double.
This is essentially the same. It's somebody who looks exactly like Tom Hardy, but I literally was watching it and knew it wasn't him, and every 10 seconds I had to be like, nope, not him. Not Tom Hardy. Not Tom Hardy.
Wow.
Because it looks exactly... Anyway.
I am shocked.
It was, again, okay. There were some cool parts about it. Basically, the plot is this guy, kind of like RoboCop, where this guy is in an accident, his wife gets killed, and he gets like this implant thing where it basically is a thing that controls his body. Like his brain talks to it, and that controls his body. And turns out it has an AI in it, which he wasn't told. And it so basically, it's kind of it's a very predictable story.
Yeah.
but I do like AI, like stories about AI and just kind of like our reliance on technology and letting it control us. And this is literally letting it control him, where he can give it full control. And so fight scenes are really fun, where he's not actually doing anything; he's just moving, and he's just kind of a witness while
he does that. Like I've seen the previews, and
it's really fun to watch.
He does a really good. I was going to say Tom Hardy, but actor does a really good job at that.
Not Hardy, non-Hardy. Yeah, it's really fun to watch. It makes because usually movies like this will have those super robotic looking fight scenes where it's very highly choreographed and kind of feels unnatural. Well, this one has a reason for that. He's literally an android. It's not an android, I guess a cyborg, essentially. Yeah. So he should be moving like that, and it's really fun. I will say it had tone issues, because at times the guy was feeling remorse because, he wants revenge, but he feels bad about killing. It's not something he does. He's a pretty normal guy.
Right.
But then while he's in the middle of not fighting because the robot's doing it, he's cracking jokes and stuff. And it just felt weird. They tried to have this guy be a sympathetic, I can't do this. I want revenge, but I don't know how to do this because I don't want to kill. But then also just kind of gleefully killing at the same time because he's giving permission. So it had some tone issues. And I needed to explain a little bit, just about, especially at the end, there's a twist, but it's very predictable. I needed to explain exactly what was happening a little bit more, but overall, it was fine. It had some interesting, technology type things, and it did a good job of creating a future where not everything is super high-tech and future-y.
Yeah.
Where it just feels like an alternate, like an alien universe. It just kind of felt like things we already have brought to another level, and then some things that are there are guys with guns in their arms that they can shoot. They load into their bicep and shoot through their palm, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it was all right. What about you?
So I started up the Little Nightmares DLC. It's live on our YouTube channel right now.
Right.
And I've actually finished that a little while back, and it was really good. It tied into the main game in a great way, where it doesn't change the story, but it does have an impactful tie-in with the story.
Yeah, that's good DLC.
Yeah, and so it was really cool and very interesting. The only thing is that for DLC, for something that's after the fact of the game, they didn't take any of the criticisms of the main game and try to make it a little bit better in the DLC.
Yeah.
So the depth perception was still really difficult.
Sure.
The little mechanics you can open this door is not communicated. Throughout the entire game, there are a lot of background things. Some doors you can open, some doors you can't, and there's no difference between them.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and so and I actually talk about it in one of my playthroughs, little things maybe some handprints on a door, of where there's an area where it's open, or maybe the door's cracked just a smidge or whatever else, and that communicates to you that you can do this or you can not do that, but none of that's there. You just have to try and guess with everything.
Get every single door.
Yeah, so it's a little bit rough around the edges, but all in all, the way I described it in the playthrough is that it's Burton-esque, where it's dark and it's but it's also childish and it's fun and it's great.
Right.
But at the end of the day, as far as technical stuff goes, it's not the best.
Yeah.
And that Tim Burton is exactly that. He's not the best director in the world. I know that.
He's more style over substance.
I think,
yeah.
But his style is something that people love.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I love
and he also has some good movies.
Yeah. So, and then I have been purposefully going through. We should have done this. In fact, we should have done an episode on this. I've been purposely going through each one of our 20 comics that we got on our Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
Free Comic Book Day collection. So, for those of you guys who don't know what Free Comic Book Day is, once a year it is May 5th. Is free, right? May 5th?
No, it's the first Saturday of
First Saturday of May. First Saturday of May is Free Comic Book Day, and most comic book shops will participate in this.
Yes.
And you can go and comic book production companies like
Marvel, DC,
Labels,
Image, all of them.
They will have one or two free comics that are made specifically for Free Comic Book Day.
At least one or two.
Yeah. And you can go and take a free comic from these. And so we hit up a couple of comic book shops, and there was probably, 40 different comics?
30 to 40 options.
So options from different labels and everything like that. So since we went to, we could take 10, and we took 10 from each place.
Yeah. And
went through a lot of them, and there are some that are just super comic booky and too much. There's one that it's about it's essentially future 31st century superhero group is doing their thing, but one of the guys in the superhero group is like really obsessed with that 20th century superhero group by which they all like love and respect, and they created this group from, but all they know is that in the 20th century or 21st century they disappeared. And so it's kind of like this mystery, but the problem is that they walk around like everybody's named Lightning Lad and Ignition Boy, and they're like, hey, Ignition Boy, we need to get it to Zargag 5 to collect the Merminium. And like, it's so difficult to take seriously because it's just shoved with like...
No, we should still do that. We should talk about, because I haven't really read any of those yet.
Yeah, so I've been going through each one, and one of them was really cool, but also I could see being really difficult. I liked it because it's called Barrier, and it's about aliens that show up on the border.
Is that the one with like the horizontal cover?
Yeah, and it's actually the entire comic book is horizontal, and that in and of itself
interesting.
is difficult.
Okay,
yeah, because just holding the comic to read it is a difficult thing now. But
I'm going to stop you there. Actually, let's talk about this.
I'm just going to say one thing.
Do a quick review or whatever.
It's bilingual.
Oh.
For you to get the fullness of the comic, you need to speak Spanish and English.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd say it's
I like it.
Even amounts of Spanish. That's very, very cool. But even in my like 75% fluency, I struggled.
Oh, so it's like it's just Spanish without training wheels. Like
correct.
This is how somebody would speak.
I mean, it's on the border, so there's scenes in Mexico.
Okay.
And
awesome.
It's 100% Spanish from fluent speakers.
That makes me want to read that series actually, because I've seen that. I've been on a lot of comic shops recently, and I've seen that on every shelf. And interesting. All right.
So we'll talk. Let's talk about it.
Stay tuned. We'll talk about this in another episode.
But what we really want to talk about today is something that we're part of a video game group online on Facebook, and it's like not just the purpose of the group is these aren't just guys who like video games. Like these are guys who appreciate the art and the development, and like people who really appreciate video games as a medium.
Sure.
And one of them a guy posted an article the other day just about a video game that was set to release on Steam.
It's supposed to come out this Wednesday.
Right.
No, sorry, last Wednesday. I'm just the 6th of June.
You got the info, Fox. Talk to us about this game.
This is a game that you've probably heard of if you're at all in the video game realm, or even maybe not because of the controversy. It was called Active Shooter, a game basically that simulates a school shooting, and the player can choose between being a SWAT team member trying to take down the shooter or being the shooter himself.
Right.
Which obviously caused a lot of controversy in the world just because of how recent but also prevalent school shootings and just mass shootings in general are happening, especially in America here in the United States. It was supposed to come out the 6th. I can't find the exact date it was pulled, but it was pulled off. It was supposed to come out on Steam, and Steam itself basically pulled it off of their website. Now, I will say that it wasn't because of the game itself. From all the info I've read, they weren't concerned. Maybe they were concerned, but it wasn't.
Right.
Their reason was that the developer, a person named... I forgot. I lost his name. He's a.
It's okay. We don't need to talk.
He's
about
a Russian developer.
Yeah.
Who apparently has a history of kind of being a troll, basically on Steam, trying to publish copyrighted materials, trying to manipulate reviews on what he publishes, just trying to be controversial for the sake of being controversial. Essentially,
he's known for that.
Yeah, and so he was banned from Steam when he was using a different name, and so. That's their cited reason for taking down Active Shooter, which is what the game is called.
Right.
But yeah, that we want to talk about this game, just kind of the impact it can have and kind of the pros and cons I want to get into because I do see some potential for a game like this. So, what do you think about this game, Active Shooter?
Well, first and foremost, let's just be honest. Steam may have said they pulled it, or maybe they actually did pull it because this guy had been banned or whatnot. But that's not why it's in the news.
That was a legitimate reason to pull it.
Right. Absolutely. It's been in the news and there are articles on it because it is a hot topic right now.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And When I saw this game, there were so many things that I saw. I mean, especially being somebody who works directly with teens, and just a few years ago, there was a school shooting. 2 people died a block away from me, a school that I had walked the campus of many times as somebody who knows students who go to that school.
Right.
I know people who were there who heard gunshots, things like that. And so I feel very deeply when it comes to school shootings. Like I have a lot of deep emotions about this type of stuff. And so when I heard this, I know there are benefits and, there are things that we could do to use it, but the reviews on this and kind of the articles reading on it, and then some of just the preview images that I saw on them, it looked so gamified.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Just this whole idea of there's so many small things that were there for the sensationalism of it. Like, first of all, it's from a first-person perspective. Your goal is to be put in the shoes of either the SWAT member or the shooter itself, where something like a third-person perspective would be just as easy to make. And at that point, there's an active psychological thing where you are watching this happen. You are not the person. It's just that little difference there. And it's why in a lot of first-person shooters, you're not given a real name. You're just called rookie or sergeant or things like that, because they want you to be able to feel like you're in the shoes of this person. But in third-person games, you're usually playing a character.
When you can physically see the person and their face,
right,
it makes it much harder to disassociate that character from,
Right. So there was a decision. I mean, if you're a game developer, you were aware of this. There was a decision that this guy had to want to put you in the shoes of the shooter or the SWAT team member, rather than as a viewer learning and experiencing from this.
Yeah.
There's also a kill count where you can see how many, and it actually specifies how many civilians you've killed compared to how many police officers you've killed.
Yeah.
And something like that, it's just unnecessary. What would be the point? Why?
Right. And unless you were trying to actively be controversial.
Right. And, at that point it says, this is a game. This is not, because the game was advertised as a simulator for training purposes and whatnot. So it was, that in and of itself betrays itself, because as far as the simulation goes, if you're playing an active shooter, there's no purpose to rack up a kill count. And then so many different things, I would have made a decision to make all of the victims bots, just faceless, hairless,
just
bots,
human shaped,
right?
Yeah,
and they would run, they would react, and whatever else, but it would be something that you're not identifying human beings with this.
Yes.
And at that point, you could do all this, and you could say this is a training regimen or whatever else, and it's just, I don't know, the whole thing to me. The guy tried to play it off like this could be a good thing. And to me,
he apparently in an interview said he did not expect it to be as controversially accepted, or as controversial as it was, which is baffling a little bit.
So to me, I say 2 things to that. Number one, either he is so ridiculously removed from popular culture right now, that he should not be making video games that apply to popular culture.
Okay.
Or 2, he's an idiot.
Well, that's probably true.
And I don't want to say that I'm mad at him and I want to call no, I literally mean
an unintelligent
he's
decision.
Dumb. Yes. Yeah, and that was just straight up unintelligent.
Ignorant would be the best word.
Really, really outstandingly ignorant to think to himself, if he was aware of how sensitive this is and said, but I'm going to make a video game about it and it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right.
There is a lack of intelligence there that is just astounding to me.
Right. Now apparently he's from Moscow.
Right.
Where as far as I know, active shooters and mass shootings are not nearly as prevalent as they are here in America, where video games are far more popular. So I'm not trying to excuse. I'm not trying to explain. I'm just trying to maybe kind of understand a little bit about where he's
the first thing
from.
I said was maybe he's just that removed from popular culture.
Yes.
Maybe there was just a disconnect there that he did not eat. Which in a place like Moscow, if you have the tools if you have internet, you probably have heard about this in some way.
Yeah. Nobody should believe him if he ever says, "Well, I don't really."
I had no idea. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think there are merits to attempting something like this.
Yeah, that's
but
what
we
I
can
want to
talk more about that later.
Yeah.
But as far as this, the active shooter, this video game,
Yeah, what was actually published?
my honest guess is that he knew full well what he was doing. He knew full well that it was going to be controversial, and he was sure hoping he was going to make a lot of money on dumb 12-year-olds that were going to go and like, yeah, I'm going to go play this active shooter.
Sure, yeah, idiots.
Yeah. What about you? What'd you think?
Well, I don't know if you guys remember, but we did, I think it was near the January, like New Year.
Yeah, like toward the beginning of Nerdy Gritty.
Yeah. Where we did basically a gaming news roundup type thing. And one of the things we talked about was the fact that there is a video game that has been used by SWAT or is some kind of, in a professional manner that is to help. It helps law enforcement, I believe, respond by kind of putting you in the shoes. Essentially the same thing, kind of, like in a way,
right,
where you're put in the shoes of a school shooting and tasked with figuring out what to do, trying to cover all of the bases, like, okay, we gotta lock doors, we gotta cover windows, we gotta do all these things, basically but this was purely for law enforcement. This was something used literally as a training tool,
right,
not to the public and then adapted. This was something, and so I think we have to say that there can be benefit to something in this vein. Like, literally, there already has been. There's been something used like this. I believe, and I'm going to kind of get into the quote-unquote pros of a game like this, like what could be good. I believe that something like this should also be a public game.
Right.
I'm okay with some controversy if it's used for good, if it's used for teaching. Because, yes, it may be offensive to people, but if it's used in a way that's purely for educational purposes, or even like educational in a like, here's what you should do, in a sense, like, if you're in this situation, you should do this, like that was, I think, his main flaw. If he wanted to come across as somebody trying to educate, then he should then the very first mode, which is, he said, something that is supposed to be in development for the game, should have been, you are one of the you are a student.
Yeah, that's
where he went wrong, if that's what he was trying to do.
Right.
The real, I think, benefit of a game like this would be to, if you are a high school student or younger or whatever, to be able to learn, here's exactly what to do. You could play it in schools, maybe. But also, if you are not one of those and not likely to be in a school shooting situation, to be able to emotionally understand what's happening. There's been, I'm going to get a little political here, but there have been really no attempts to change any laws regarding gun rules, and I don't want to get into, like, Second Amendment or whatever, but I feel like there could be changes made, just basically, background checks, just simple things that don't infringe upon rights, but just make it harder for people who, whatever. Yeah. I think people who are against that could play a game like this and maybe start to be educated in an emotional sense, like what it's like to be in this situation. And even afterward, maybe you put something in that has something to do with, like, therapy that goes into it, or PTSD situations. To be able to understand what the toll of a school shooting is on the people who are involved, and to be able to have some empathy for them rather than just quote unquote sympathy, if that's what you want.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
You said, and you even cited some examples in which you think it would be good in a public forum.
Yes.
I just can't get behind a public forum, because it would be incredibly easy for some idiot out there to go in and then just, mod it a little bit and then put it on some sort of torrent site. Like, download this for free, and now it's Columbine shooting simulator, which was a real thing, by the way.
Sure.
Or now it's Sandy Hook shooting simulator.
Right.
And I know that that's not the fault of the person who originally developed it. Not at all. But there is a bit of wisdom that you would take. It'd be the equivalent of, like, New York Flight Simulator 2001 mode.
Yeah.
You can get in an airplane and fly around New York, what it looked like in 2001. you were just asking for somebody to mod this and make it a 9/11 simulator. You know what I mean?
Sure, I understand. I'm going to push back a little bit here. It took a long time for you to play Last of Us.
Yes,
right?
it did.
Why is that?
Time. Because I have 2 daughters and a son, but 2 daughters, and I knew that the whole father-daughter relationship that goes on there would hit me right in the feels.
Right.
The relationship with Joel
Ellie.
and Ellie was less that, but the intro with Joel and his actual...
Yeah, it's hardcore.
Oh, I did. I cried, man.
Right,
It was
right.
rough.
Now,
Ugh.
because you knew that this might be an emotionally impactful game for you to play, you, for a long time, chose not to play it.
Correct.
Could not somebody who would know, they're not going to just blindly start playing a game and then realize, oh, they're going to know what this game is. Now, if you find this offensive, couldn't somebody who would say, oh, this is hard for me to understand or to get through, just say, I won't play it?
I get the idea of what you're saying. Here's the difference here. This isn't me not wanting to play something because I think that the relationship between Joel and his daughter would very much reflect me and my daughter. This is the equivalent of somebody making a mod and putting my face on Joel and Audrey, my oldest daughter's face on daughter, and literally playing through me watching my daughter die. Spoiler alert for the intro of Last of Us. But at that point, it's incredibly personal. And you know what? It wouldn't just be me saying, I don't want to play that game and watch my daughter die. I would be mad. And I would be like, how dare you even digitally put me and my family through something like that?
Well, I mean, technically it would be illegal to put your face in a game.
But okay, so...
I understand what you're saying, though.
Right.
Yeah, we're being hypothetical here.
So Sandy Hook Simulator. If I were one of the family members of Sandy Hook and some douchebag is making a simulator that's, killing Sandy Hook, and the goal is not to teach or to train or anything, it's to be fun. I don't know.
To be the killer.
To be sensationalist. I don't even know what the point of something like that would be. I would see them as the people who experienced this, the friends and family of them, and even me, just as somebody who, like I said, feels deeply about school shootings because I work with teenagers so closely. I would be so mad, and I am so mad when things like this come out, because you know that it is explicitly for the purpose of sensationalism and...
to make some money off of controversy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Make money off of controversy. And so, obviously, what you were saying is not that. What you were saying is the opportunity to have a public training forum for this type of issue so we can be more prepared for it. But we also have to, it's almost like the gun issue. We have to recognize not what the majority of people are going to do with it, but what that horrible minority are going to do with it. That's what we have to be concerned about. And at that point, we have to be wise with, just like we were talking about before, with how we distribute this. A lot like the gun issue. We just got to be wise with how we distribute this. And I would say... not exclusively for police officers, but I would say some sort of like public distribution of psychologists and psychotherapists have this, or counselors have this, and they're able to say, hey, you're struggling through PTSD of this, or hey, your child is going through this, but you don't know how to identify with them. Play through this.
Could be useful.
And it'll be useful to you. And let me distribute this to you. And it's for teachers. And it's for, police officers. And yes, sure, inevitably somebody else is going to get a hold of it and do something stupid with it. But at that point, at least we can say, look, we didn't try to hand this out freely to everybody. We tried to be wise with how we distributed it. Somebody made a solid effort and did something stupid and cruel with it. But if we just throw it up on Steam and say whoever wants to be a part of this, we are almost asking for somebody to take it and do something horrible with it. And I can't get behind that.
I disagree with you there that you're asking for it. If you go out and preach the gospel, I'm gonna get into the Christian thing here. If you go out and freely preach the gospel to the masses, and somebody is like, interesting, reads the Bible and says, oh, God said to put homosexuals to death, and starts killing homosexuals, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
You were out there preaching the gospel. They took something and did evil with it and used it to justify their actions.
That's a fair point.
You can't just cater to everybody's evil whims.
Yeah.
And because I feel like you're censoring yourself and stopping yourself from doing some good.
Yeah, that's fair. And it goes into the rape culture argument as well.
Right, right. It's
the victims are never asking for it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
That's absolutely true, and that's a very fair point. So let me rephrase that then. I think that there are much wiser ways we could go about
That's
it.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
On that note, let's get into the idea that it was on Steam. It was set to release on Steam this the 6th, the last Wednesday.
And they pulled it.
It wasn't like they submitted it for consideration and then they said no. It was on there. Now, let's talk about that. So
we're assuming, let's assume first that Steam just used the whole "he was banned before" thing as kind of an excuse to pull it or whatnot.
What they've stated is, or one of the somebody named Lombardi basically said, it was a spokesperson for Valve, said they pulled it because this guy has a history of trolling and all this.
Which, if that's the real reason, then sure, they have.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But let's go with the assumption that this was just the reason that they used. They really pulled it because it was controversial. Yeah. Controversial. You said you didn't agree with that.
No, I feel like, I don't know, I'm going to kind of make the slippery slope argument.
Okay.
Because I could name you a couple other games that have controversial content that are...
Right.
Modern Warfare 2. There is an entire scene in that game where you walk into a crowded airport and just start murdering people.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally a mass murderer for a level in that game. The game actively asks you if you want to skip it.
Yeah.
It knows that it's not something people want to.
Innocent human beings.
You are simulating a mass murder in an airport. Should we also take down Modern Warfare 2? That has no educational value. It's not like putting you in the shoes of law enforcement.
Right.
It's not putting you in the shoes of, it's got all the gamification pieces or things that you would have in the rest of the game.
Right.
Your goal is just to kill innocents. And so if we are to say that because something is controversial, because it doesn't have it's just there to sensationalize, what other game should we take down? What about Hatred? Should Hatred never have been released because it's... Look, you can say that, but is it true? Like, do you actually believe that? Should we to me, this is censorship. I'm not blaming Valve.
Right.
Valve has every right to do what they want. Censorship is a legal issue to me, and that's not what we're getting into. But I do believe Valve and game companies have a artistic, what's the word I'm looking for? Artistic integrity, a obligation to allow things that even if that as long as they are not breaking the law in any way,
obviously,
to allow things that people may not agree with. You could even stretch it to, let's take down Spec Ops: The Line. But we know what that game does. Like, it makes you do horrible things, essentially, and then think about them.
Yeah, deal with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is another game, while developed in a very poor way and clearly not made for educational purposes, I don't think Valve should take it down because people aren't going to like it.
So I understand what you're saying, and I think that the actual real response, if you want to get into debate technicals, the correct response to the slippery slope argument is, sure, but let's remove those other things from the situation and deal with this individually. Why do you think this should stay up? Let's forget Hatred, forget Modern Warfare 2. Why do you think this one should stay up? But we could talk about that. Let's skip that, because not that you made bad points. You know what I mean? Hatred is a really good one, where if you guys don't know the game Hatred, it's just a mass shooting
about
simulator.
A game about a kid who basically gets angry and starts killing people. A person who gets angry and starts killing people.
Yeah, and you have guns and you run around and you start killing people.
That's what it is. It's all it is.
But even that game, you don't go to Hatred thinking anything other than exactly this is going to happen.
Yep.
And it is a top-down shooter, and it's camped and overdone and goofy and whatnot. It's like the what was the game? Postal. It's like Postal
Sure.
back in the day, where the gamification of it is so extreme that there is a separation there. Now, is hatred stupid, and do I not think it should be supported in any way, shape, or form? Yes. I think that, and here's what I mean by, do I think Steam never should have released it? Here's my bottom line in these things. No matter what we want to say, what we think about stuff, do I think making games like this should be illegal? No, absolutely not. But do I think Steam as an organization should exercise their rights as the people who distribute this stuff to say, hey, we're going to filter games we put out for content. And if we personally feel like this game is offensive and like too offensive or too harsh, then we're not going to release it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. I don't disagree with you at all. Like, Valve has every right to say no. I just believe that they should be okay with it.
Man, and so I think, and at that
not
point,
okay with it. And put all the warnings you want, all the content warnings, age blockers somehow, like do all of that. But
so at the end of the day, we could argue back and forth about why exactly we think they should and shouldn't. But to me, really, what it comes down to is Valve's right to take this down was exercised, and I agree with their decision, because this is not something that exists to... I mean, even hatred in and of itself is not going to reflect anything in particular. It's just like, there isn't hatred Las Vegas concert version.
It's a very non-specific.
Right. But really, really quickly, active shooter is going to become very specific. And even if it isn't, it's going to feel very specific to a lot of people out there.
Sure.
And where hatred is just stupid, and where Modern Warfare, they do this for an artistic choice, and the game plays out as repercussions from that, airport scene. And like you said, they give you the option to skip it anyway. So if this is offensive or difficult or hard for you, we can get past this. I mean, you don't play hatred or buy hatred and then at the very beginning go, I'm gonna skip this.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip it, and then you just turn off the game.
Right. So there is a difference there in all of these ways.
Yeah, that's true.
But when it comes down to should Valve support this, I say no. So you say, as an artistic forum, you would say yes.
Yes.
Why?
I believe that it is a viewpoint.
Okay.
It's a sensationalized, opportunistic viewpoint.
Right.
And I believe that they could make some pretty simple changes, I guess. I don't really know about development, so I don't know how easy it'd be. But like, they could make some changes to make it a little better and still have that controversy. I mean, if controversies... like, this game could be educational and still retain the... and would still retain the controversy that they were searching for. But if they can say, nope, we have handled this in a way that teaches you about these situations, then they could say, maybe people would disagree with them, but they could say, no, if they could, their conscience could be clear. And then still a game called Active Shooter coming out where you are a student in an active shooting at a school, obviously going to have 100% the same public reaction.
Right.
I think it falls on the developer's shoulders to make those changes, to make a better game in a lot of ways. But I think the distributor, Steam, is obviously the biggest PC distributor.
Right.
Like, they have that. I feel like what falls on their shoulders is a recognition of who they are and their place in the gaming industry. That they're the ones that most people go to for games. Put 1,000 different content warnings. Put like extra like age instead of just like a page that you just have to put in your birth date. Like, I don't know. Put in a parent's email. I don't know, some way to limit who can see this, or just make sure that everybody knows what they're getting into when they play this game. I think there is a burden upon both the developer and the publisher, whatever Acid Games or whatever it's called, and Steam, respectively, to make sure that this game is has redeeming value, has an educational side to it, but also is, I think everybody could benefit from it, even if you are not in the, therapy industry or in the, I think art is supposed to reflect the human experience.
Yeah.
And the human experience for a lot of people, at least once a week now in America, is somebody has a gun and is trying to kill you. And there are a lot of ways that could be fixed, but without empathy, that doesn't happen. And I think video games have the opportunity to do that, to play a role in change. And so if we can make that happen, if Steam can, sure, of course, limit how that's done and make sure that people know what they're playing and the developer is responsible with what they're doing, they're going to get their benefit anyway. They're going to make money off of it. They're going to get that controversy, but they could also do good. And that's where I think the real tragic part here is, like, yeah, I understand it's going to be offensive to people and people aren't going to want to watch. They're going to boycott it. They're going to sign petitions. I understand it. I don't blame them. That's perfectly fine. But I think it's a missed opportunity is what I find sad about it.
I'm going to ask you a question and then I'll let you have your response, of course, but then I want to make a point as to why I'm asking this question. So,
okay.
What if there's a game called Rape Simulator that came out and you are in the shoes of the rapist and you go through step by step and your objectives are like, roofie this drink, or, stalk this woman, or even like, your college frat boy, look for drunk girls, wait till they pass out, and things like that. And there's a HUD, it's gamified, and it's Rape Simulator. Would you also say, you know what, that's stupid and I hate it, that's awful, but Steam should post it?
No, I mean, again, that's when you put yourself, well, like I said before, what they should have done is put you in the shoes of a victim.
Yeah, but what we're saying right now, or I guess what I understood you saying right now, was that, look, this game itself, the way it was going to come out, the way ASA was going to release active shooter, was bad and dumb and stupid, but Steam should not have walked away from it. Steam should have still posted it.
Yeah, with
content warning and all that stuff.
Yeah, I believe that also. I think that it has potential to change, of course, and also I just believe we're getting into the realm of censorship here because we disagree with what's being portrayed.
Right, and I agree with you on that. Yeah, and
I agree. I would say, as controversial as it would be, as soon as we start deciding what can and cannot be in our art, then we have it's the hard part because Steam can do whatever they want. Obviously. It's not censorship. It's not a legal issue when they don't put something. It's like canceling Roseanne because she said something racist. ABC can do whatever the crap they want.
Right.
The government's not trying to stop her. Like, it's what free speech is.
Yeah.
Free speech is the ability to say whatever you want, not to be free from the consequences of those things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, aside from being arrested by the government. And so I feel like this falls squarely into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, consequences, he deserved them. I 100% agree. But also, like, I feel like just because we're scared of a topic doesn't mean we should remove every single possible instance of it in our media.
And here's what I'll say. Your side of this is intellectually and objectively true.
It is intellectually true, but it is.
Yeah.
I also partially don't agree with me. That's what I'll say.
Because it sucks so much. And this is where, if you go 100% intellectual, I would say you're right. If I were Mr. Spock, I would say you're right.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But I think that there is something within us, especially as pastors, there's something within us that can say with certainty, okay, this isn't a censorship issue. This isn't art issue, but it's wrong.
Sure.
It's wrong, and we're not going to support it for that.
Yeah.
And I think self-censorship is one of the best things that we can do as art distributors. So as people who, for those of you, we switch back and forth between Valve and Steam. Steam is the
distribution platform that Valve owns.
So if you are Valve and these games are coming in, you can say, you know what? Sure, there's a really logical argument to say that I should just release this, but we know this is wrong.
Yeah.
We can just feel this is wrong and we will not support it. Now, should that guy make it from an artistic standpoint? Sure, he can do whatever he wants.
To, yeah, whatever.
Absolutely. But I 100% support Steam's ability to say, you know what? All art should be treated equally, but no. We're going to stand up and we're going to say, I can feel this is wrong.
Perfectly
and we
fair.
will not support it.
Perfectly fair.
Well, guys, let us know what you think about this. As to come down to it, Steam has done this. They are not going to release Active Shooter, and they have pulled the game and have re-banned the dude, reminded him of his ban.
Sure.
And so we're not going to see Active Shooter come out. But
Not from Steam.
Not from Steam. But what do you think about the idea of Active Shooter? What would you have changed to make it better, to make it something that is more educational and less gamified?
Would you play it, and why?
Absolutely. We want to hear from you guys. Let us know. Thank you guys for watching, for subscribing, for listening.
Watching this still image
of
our logo. Intently.
Thank you for listening and for sharing when you share our stuff. And always remember, saved games, save lives.
Bye, guys.